What's the one piece of career advice you wish someone had given you when you were starting out?
When you choose something to do, you should choose something that you enjoy, ideally something you love, because you spend a full third of your life when you're of working age doing that same thing. And fair enough, that sounds probably pretty obvious, but the thing is as well, if you're not fortunate enough to do the job you want to do straight away, because I don't think many people actually are ever going to a job that's like the perfect job for them at that point in time, whenever they are, make sure that you just work in the background to upskill yourself, whether that's reading books, looking at videos. Basically do whatever you need to do to put yourself in a position to get that ideal job. But also don't think that that's like a one-time thing, because the ideal job you want when you're 25 is definitely going to be different for the job you want 35, 45, etc. So basically stay hungry and always be learning, always be adding strings to your bow, essentially. I say that have a growth mindset, because ultimately the day you stop learning is the day you die, in my opinion.
Can you share a pivotal moment in your career journey that has made a significant impact?
Yes, so that actually goes back to my ideal job when I was 25 versus ideal job early in career for me was being a tech field consultant. So someone who would go to sites, help commission networking equipment, provision services, build things out. Basically a techie in a wiring closet playing with technology. That was my ideal job. And I ended up doing that ideal job. And it was, I think it was a day in January in 2007 that really realised that this job wasn't for me. I remember it vividly. It was the week from hell. So as a field consultant, your calendar is not your own. So you get sent different places wherever you need to be. And fair enough, sometimes that doesn't work out great. I had to spend a month in Northampton once upon a time, which Northampton, nothing against Northampton, but when you have to be in Northampton in a travel lodge for a month, that kind of puts a different spin on it. But this one week, I had 2 days in London, so Monday, Tuesday, London. Then I went to Birmingham on Wednesday, and then I went to Glasgow on Thursday, and I was back in London on Friday. And at that point, I realised I don't want to be a field consultant anymore, because I can't keep putting this amount of mileage on my body. So I basically started looking for another job, and that's how I started moving into more design-orientated pre-sales. And then that ultimately led me down the path I'm on now as well. So that's the pivotal moment. It's kind of, sometimes it takes a point, the straw that broke the camel's back to make you realise this isn't what I signed up for.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, when they do field-based work, so we work with a lot of like network engineers and network design engineers, and a lot of their roles, so about 60% of it is travel, and obviously going to customer sites. When, as you said yourself, London, Birmingham, Glasgow, I think once they get into about 6 months a year of doing it, they're like, you know what, it's just too taxing. They feel like they're not getting a rest, because by the time the weekend comes, you're back on the job as well.
Yeah, and a lot of times you'd be expected in those jobs to go down. The company's paying for you for a full day, so they expect you there at 9 a.m. But if that's 9 a.m. in Reading, then you probably have to go down the night before, or at 5 o'clock in the morning. So you don't get all your weekends, and like you say, you're just struggling to catch up. That's no way to live, in my opinion. Yeah,
even the sleep side of it, mentally, that's so taxing, isn't it? If you're getting in from a customer site, and as you say, you could potentially be getting up at 4 or 5 in the morning to commute to the next client site without having that kind of rest period in between, again, is so kind of taxing on, I suppose, your mental health and mental capacity.
Yeah, it's probably quite dangerous as well, and you can understand. I mean, I know a lot of people in the same industry who've had car accidents at early hours of the morning because they fell asleep right to the central reservation. So it's one of those things you have to be. You have to have an internal checks and balances system to make sure that you don't end up going down that path.
How do you approach challenges and setbacks in your professional life, and what's your go-to strategy for overcoming them?
So this isn't a go-to strategy I've had for the longest period of time. It's something I've kind of developed over the years. And ultimately, it comes down to having faith in people that you are dealing with, that they want the right thing. So what do I mean there? So for example, if you're in a situation, something doesn't go your way, you might look at your opponent, quote unquote, opponent, and kind of demonize them and classify them as the other. And then it really is impossible to basically bridge the gap. And, that's always going to be an insurmountable issue, because they're making, from your perspective, an illogical choice. So if you're going to want to realize the gaps in the way you approach a problem, then realistically, you need to put yourself in the shoes of the person who is the opponent, should we say. So, because ultimately, people, for the most part, aren't psychopathic, they aren't Machiavellian, they're just there they want to do the best job that they're able to do for the company they're working for. So if you actually leverage the ability to walk a mile in their shoes, to use a known expression, basically, emotional intelligence and empathy is the key to being successful in work and business, in my opinion. And it makes it so much easier to build really strong, successful working relationships when you can really appreciate their point of view.